am joined today by Rachel Schromen, an estate planning attorney and owner of Schromen Law. She's top 3 estate planning attorneys in St. Paul. She's lovely. So happy to have you here, Rachel. Rachel and I were talking just about some of the things that we've seen, and we've had the privilege of being able to work with Rachel on several probate cases. And these tend to have they require a lot more work. They're a little bit more detailed, and we've even seen sellers lose buyers over these because of the additional time and steps that it can take to get them approved through the court. So I am so happy Rachel's here. Rachel, can you tell us about probate and what are some things that people should know?
Sure. Probate is a specialty court that exists to pass assets after someone passes away. And in Minnesota, what triggers probate is if the estate, the assets of the deceased person, include real property, so houses, land, cabins, hunting property, any type of real property has to be probated, or if there's probate assets that amount to $75,000 or more. And a lot of people don't realize that owning property will automatically require probate without prior planning regarding that property in an attempt to avoid it.
Oh, I think that's so true that people just don't realize that probate becomes mandatory if it's not pre-planned. So what are some ways that people can avoid probate or having that be something that is pushed upon family?
So planning to avoid probate is very fact specific. So I always encourage people, of course, to consult with an attorney because the best approach for planning to avoid probate depends on the assets that make up the person's estate. Disclaimer being stated, when it comes to real property, there's a couple common approaches to avoiding probate. The first is you can establish a revocable trust and hold that property in the trust. Property held in a trust will likely avoid probate. It can pass outside of the court process. You can also use what's called a transfer on death deed. Transfer on death deed is a deed that would be drafted and recorded with the county that the property resides in. That says at the time of my passing, my property will automatically pass to, whatever beneficiary or beneficiaries you name. Transfer on death deeds that are done prior to death and recorded prior to the owner of the property dying can also function to help families avoid the probate process. And 99% of the time, this pre-planning is more time and cost effective than if those assets were to go through probate and the family members are finding themselves dealing with that.
I think, it's such a complex situation depending on each person, right? And by that, all I mean is we all have different assets and we all are holding different things. And so the number one thing that I would tell people to do, and again, because you worked us through it, is to talk to you because you would be able to really help guide them on what makes sense, what they should do, and ways to avoid it. I think you guys, I'm going to put Rachel's information below. Again, she's the owner of Schromen Law in St. Paul. Rachel, how can they reach you? Let's give them contact information. So if they want to reach out to you, they can do that.
Yeah, so my direct dial is 651-571-2515. You can also reach me through my website, schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMENLAW.com. And I will note, especially when people have initial questions, initial consultations at my firm are done at no cost. It's worth taking the time just to get the review, get the professional opinion. I'll give a recent kind of case example.
Yeah.
I had a woman come in after her father passed away, and she said he has everything set up. He did it himself. He has everything set so we don't have to go through court. Well, he owned a home, and they hadn't done anything with the home. He had a will. The will was fine. We were able to, it was validly done and executed. But we had to go through probate just to sell the house. Now, if he had come to me and needed, let's say it was as simple as recording a transfer on death deed and getting that recorded with the county, he would have spent roughly $250. His family is still going through probate court and they're spending thousands on court and legal fees. So it's worth just making the first appointment and just learning what the process would be, what the fees are, and what the alternative would be without the planning.
I so love that you touched on that, because I think that's super common to hear. Like, they took care of it. They took care of it. And I think well-intentioned people believe that that is the case and have that behind it. But like you said, going through you, what I love about you is you really want to provide that value and information for people and help them so that they're not using you on the flip side because they didn't know. That's so wise. Right. I'm so grateful for you. You guys, you can't find someone better. You just can't. So reach out if you have questions. I know Rachel will walk you through it. Thank you.